Thank you.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is April Fool's Day 2021. What am I saying? Every day is April Fool's Day during the pandemic, isn't it? I'm David Menzies, and you have tuned in to the Rebel News live stream. And as always, well, mostly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am joined by my lovely co-host. She's a little bit rock and roll and a whole lot country. She is a she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. I am talking about the one, the only, and the lovable one, Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing today, Sheila?
David, that was amazing. Nobody's ever... I know I should be annoyed, but nobody's ever given me like the wrestling promo intro full treatment like that. So I hope the team clips that for me, because I want to make that my ringtone. When you text message me, that's what's going to come up. That's going to be the alert from now on. I love that. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure, Sheila. I'll come up with an even better one on Tuesday.
Honestly, I can't wait. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who are still watching us on YouTube, we've been completely demonetized here on YouTube. So if you're going to try to give us a super chat the old-fashioned way, you're not going to be able to. However, if you are watching us over on the Rebel News Clips channel, that has not yet been demonetized. So you can watch us over there, and you can send us an old-fashioned super chat over there. And if you're watching us on Rumble, hello. Nice to have you join us. That's one of the platforms that we're currently streaming on to get around this demonetization of YouTube. We were mostly demonetized a few years ago in the Great Demonetization. So if you saw an ad in front of our stuff, you know, it was very rare. But early last week, we were completely demonetized by YouTube. They took away our ability to receive super chats. And super chats were a great way for our friends, all of our people who want to support us out of the generosity of their own heart and their own free will. You could do that through something called a super chat. Can't do that anymore. So instead, if you like the work that we do, you want to support us and keep us going, keep us fighting, because this demonetization, as Ezra pointed out yesterday, has taken about $400,000 right out of the center of the company. Now, we are like Arby's. We're hard to keep down. So that's why we're doing something a little bit different. If you go to the top of the live chat, there's a pinned comment, and that pinned comment is a link to Streamlabs. So it will take you off of YouTube, where you can go over to Streamlabs, and you can leave us something that we're calling tentatively, I guess, maybe we've settled on it, a Rebel chat. So you can throw a little money in to support the work that we do here, because we're not like CBC. We're not going to make Justin Trudeau give us your money. And you can leave a comment, and Justin, Mr. Super Producer, he'll send it to me, and we'll read it on air. And also, Mr. Super Producer, I cannot see anything in the Skype feed. It's just black, so I'm flying blind. Thank you.
You know, Sheila, I hope our viewers can figure it out. You know how I struggle with technology. I'm kind of like unfrozen caveman lawyer. I'm unfrozen caveman journalist. Your tall buildings and fast-moving cars frighten and confuse me. So I hope they can somehow piece together, those generous donations that they make so that we keep the lights on. Because as Sheila said, folks, we don't believe in, Rogers negative option billing, which is to say taking the deduction out of your paychecks every 2 weeks like the mainstream media does, thanks to all these journalism top-up funds. So,
yeah.
And to me, Sheila, as I've always said, as Ezra says, I'm sure you agree, this is the most honest way of making a buck. It's voluntary. If you are in a position in which you can give, fantastic. If you can't, that's okay. You can still tune in and watch. You're not going to be blocked from the content. So there you have it. So if they can figure it out, believe me, I am totally grateful.
They're already starting to roll in, but maybe we'll get to the news of the day and then we'll come back when we've got a bunch to read and we'll hammer through them all at once. But again, if you'd like to leave us something called a Rebel Chat, it's the pinned comment. It's really easy to do. And you get more bang for the buck, and so do we. As in, you get more characters using Streamlabs versus the amount of money that you donate. So you get, it stretches your dollar a little bit further, but also we get 100% of that money, with the exception of, the credit card processing fees. Whereas before, we only got 70% of your super chats and YouTube took 30. But think about that for a second. Think about the vindictiveness of YouTube, that they would turn away 30% of $400,000 just to shut us up. And honestly, it doesn't mean all that much to a company the size of YouTube, but for us, that's a lot of money.
And and that says two things, Sheila. One, it's not about the money for them. They're a multi-billion-dollar Silicon Valley tech giant. $400,000. That's couch change to them. And the second thing I've already forgotten. So, I'm sorry.
I love it.
I'll try to think of it. I'll try to think of it later. But why don't we get to one of the stories of the day? Maybe since it is an appropriate day, I think, for this story, because it might be an April Fool's Day joke. I don't know yet. But the mainstream media ran with it hook, line, and sinker, including Reuters. Folks, with some parts of the world opening up, and people going to restaurants and whatnot, there is a concern about going maskless because, you can't eat food through your mask, so you have to take the mask off. But guess what? Some Mexican researchers have come up with a halfway approach to safety in terms of eating. You can uncover your mouth, of course, to eat, but who says you need your nose uncovered? Just check out this, folks. So that's Mayor John Tory channeling Gavin Newsom. Well, if you can believe it, folks, a couple of researchers in Mexico have come up with another crazy way to try to, clamp down on maskless enjoyment of dining. And it's this, right off the hopper from Reuters. Researchers in Mexico have made a nose-only COVID-19 mask, which they say reduces the risk of infection of coronavirus during eating and talking. The people behind this nose-only mask say taking off the face mask to eat or drink leaves one exposed to the virus, while this nose-only mask still provides some sort of protection. According to Johns Hopkins University in the USA, cells that give people a sense of smell are a key entry point for coronavirus, making nose coverings like these important. However, the World Health Organization recommends people wear a face mask that covers the nose, mouth, and chin. Yeah, the WHO would recommend a face mask to cover the nose, mouth, and chin while you're eating. Unbelievable. But anyways, I couldn't help notice two things. One, we're on the cusp of April Fool's Day, so maybe this is a premature April Fool's joke, in which case, good on these researchers. They hoodwinked the mainstream media to go with this story. But if they are actually serious about this, what I can only think about are the Groucho glasses that first debuted in the 1940s. I found one at a store, folks. As you can see, it's a set of, it's a nose covering, so it fits into that, as well as eyeglasses and furry eyebrows and a mustache. And it was meant for levity and jocularity. But here we have people in Mexico saying this is the way to go. So let's see how this works out. Okay, so folks, as you can see, even my big fat schnoz is completely covered by the Groucho glasses. And so the risk of infection is, well, I guess it's pretty much zero, at least in terms of the nose transmission. And as you can see, there's no pesky face mask to impede my mouth from eating these delicious fries. Do you think this might catch on? Will people come to your food court and wear something like this to protect their nose while eating?
It's no way. I mean, people, they need to eat, brother. I mean, they have to take the mask out and how they can eat. They have to feel comfortable to eat. I mean, it's a big mess, brother.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Do you think this might catch on? Do you see in the summer a whole bunch of customers here in your food court wearing something like this to protect them from the virus?
Absolutely not possible. This is not comfortable at all.
Sir, are we living in an insane world right now?
Insane, yeah, we are. We are.
But folks, don't you find it downright, insane that something that debuted in the 1940s as a piece of slapstick jocularity is now considered cutting edge PPE in 2021? How surreal is that? How comical is that? How downright clownish is that? But then again, folks, this is more proof in the pudding that we are indeed living in clown world. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Yeah, so Sheila, they're laughing at us now. It's completely apparent. I've got to wear this contraption in Torytown in order to have... By the way, you know what's horrible? Those were delicious edibles I had yesterday. But part of the joy of eating is the sensory element, smelling the food, which of course this ridiculous plastic nose prevents me from doing. And so I'm going to try to get out there one more day because we only have one more day in Ontario. Evidently at midnight, we're going into another 28-day lockdown because all the other 28-day lockdowns have worked so well. Not. And on day 29, we'll go into another 28-day lockdown.
Yep.
And but at least I know where to go if I want to wear my Groucho glasses and have some cherry cheesecake. Sheila, first of all, I'm still not convinced this is an April Fool's Day joke because I couldn't find a reference to the names of the Mexican researchers. So like I said in the piece, this is either a great prank in which the mainstream media again has been hoodwinked, or it's fake news, or this is an actual bona fide idea, much like John Tory and California Governor Newsom suggested that when you go out eating, take a bite, then put your face covering on, chew your food. When it's time for another bite, take the covering off, take another bite. Sheila, I have no words anymore to describe the madness in which we're living in.
David, that was one of the best videos you've ever done. And I burst out laughing several times during that video. And I think when you shot the bumper, so like after the video's done and then we have like you just have our little head there at the end talking to you. And David still got the stupid Groucho Marx hat on, face mask on. I just burst out laughing. But is any of it, like the guy in the mask, and you know what's funny? My Skype feed is completely frozen, and it is just the guy drinking a coffee with the black nose mask on. That's all I can see right now. And it's none of it is any more ridiculous than anything that we've seen in the last year. None of it. I mean, this is completely believable. They're making us wear masks outside. The police are cracking down on people's birthday parties, arresting people for protesting in the streets. This is actually one of the least ridiculous things they would expect us to do. And when I, like this picture that my Skype feed is frozen with the guy drinking the coffee, the Mexican researcher drinking the coffee. I was like, what does that remind me of? And then I realized I've got kids. I know exactly what it reminds me of. I sent the picture to Justin. It's Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Spot. I don't know if Justin, you can throw that up. I can't tell if you can because I can't watch it live. But
Sheila, it's funny. That, of course, is a reference to SpongeBob. And just as an aside here, there has been a SpongeBob episode now removed because of COVID sensitivity. They did an episode. It was about crab quarantine camp in which the crab chef is sent there, I believe. I haven't seen the episode. But evidently to talk about cartoon crabs going to a quarantine camp, that's too triggering in this day and age of the Wuhan virus. So it has been canceled by Nickelodeon. You will never see that episode again. It's the insanity, A, and B, Sheila, let's just dwell upon the science. I don't think when you have half the orifices on your face covered, that is going to be a home run in terms of protection. Unless the Wuhan virus is so super smart that it realizes, okay, Sheila needs time to grab a burger. I'm not going to infect her by going down her throat. And it's like when, last August when Mocha and I went to Thunder Bay, for a story, and we couldn't land because of the fog. So the plane came back to Pearson in Toronto. And as part of protocol, you got to wait for the plane to refuel every time it makes an unscheduled landing. And they're going to attempt another landing later in the afternoon, which was successful. So we're there on the tarmac for a good 45 minutes. And it's a sold out flight. And people are getting up to stretch their legs. And this stewardess Karen, and we did a little video about it, barks, sit down, due to COVID regulations, remain seated. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, so if I'm seated, I'm free of getting infected, but if I go up an extra 3 feet, that's where the virus is fluttering around like so many June bugs or something. And I asked her, deplaning, I said, why did you make that announcement? And she says, oh, I don't know. They tell us to say that, right? They don't even know. I mean, Sheila, what is the danger in standing up on a plane that is parked for 45 minutes in the name of COVID?
And David, I'm claustrophobic. So the second the plane lands, I have to stand up. I can't be sitting and just in a confined space, not moving, not doing anything. I have to stand up. And so if a stewardess yelled at me, there would be a serious problem. It would not be good. Yeah. But I don't know how, in a tube of recycled air for hours, the cooties can't get to you when your head's on the headrest, but the second you stand up, you're in a cloud of cooties. This is ridiculous.
I know. No science. And folks, Sheila Gunn Reid is absolutely serious. On a trip to Israel, I witnessed her claustrophobia. She ran screaming from a catacombs tunnel, screaming and running. I think she could have made Olympic sprint times. It would, if they needed an extra for the upcoming Godzilla versus Kong movie of a woman running, screaming. I wish I had filmed that. And Sheila doesn't like winding mountain roads on a bus either.
True.
She curled up in the fetal position. I don't understand it, Sheila. As I always call you, you are the she-devil with a sword. You can go out into the Alberta bush and hunt a wolverine with your bare hands, and yet these things trigger you. I don't get it.
I'm used to wide open spaces and straight roads. That's the beauty of Alberta. It's wide, it's open, there's nothing above you, nothing around you, and the roads point your car in one direction, you can drive for days.
Wait a minute, what are you talking about? You got the Rocky Mountains there.
They give me a little bit of claustrophobia. I have to close the sunroof when I'm driving through the mountains because I don't like stuff over top of me like that.
Oh, gosh.
I know,
so we'll go to the Super Chats. And my question to you, Sheila, and my question to our viewers is simply this. If these Mexican researchers are recommending that you put a nose guard on when you eat, are you going to comply?
I can't even. I'm going to get the Mermaid Man mask then, the one that looks like a starfish. That's what I'm going to eat.
Yeah, I didn't like the look of that other mask. I'll go with the starfish.
Let's get to some of these rebel chats. Oh, God. What a time to be alive, David. It's crazy. Everything is crazy.
I'm not mad anymore, Sheila. I'm just laughing through life now.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. You can't be, you got to be a happy warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, stuff will eat you alive.
Oh, I'm like that guy on the old Laugh-In comedy show. Sock it to me, baby. Or as Pat Benatar would say, hit me with your best shot. I'm ready for anything.
Okay, let's get to some of these rebel chats before Justin has an aneurysm.
Okay.
Unjust Untrudeau gives us $2. Happy Justin Trudeau Day. Yes, it's April Fool's,
Yep.
and we did a little April Fool's story. Let's see if people can find it on our website.
Oh.
Might you head over there after the live stream and take a little peek around and see if you can identify our fun little joke.
And can anyone tell us, Sheila, if technically, does April Fool's end at noon, or was that what we were just told at school so we wouldn't completely destroy the school curriculum on April the 1st?
I hope it does, because I want the unfunny, trying too hard emails from political parties and activist groups to end, because it's you guys they have to workshop them or do something. It's just, they're not funny. Stop sending them to me.
Well, and did you see the April Fool's joke that backfired on Volkswagen? They put out a release earlier this week, and they're in trouble with it with the securities people, that they are changing their name from Volkswagen to Voltswagen, VOLTS, because they're going to go all electric by such and such a date. And that actually resulted in a spike in the stock price. And then they went, April Fool's joke. And now they're in trouble with the stock market people that regulate this, because you're not supposed to put out false information if you're a publicly traded company. And, I don't know what it is with Volkswagen. 2 years ago, Sheila, they were involved with that scandal where they fudged the numbers on their diesel for marketing purposes, and the diesel wasn't as green as they said it was. And if you can imagine, at the end of 2019, with their new diesel engines, they did a test in which they put monkeys in a chamber, and they got a nozzle that was connected to one of their car tailpipes and put the diesel fumes into the chamber and said, look, the monkeys aren't dying. And, I don't know, Sheila, if I'm running a German-based company, I'm not going down that route, okay? I am staying clear away from it. And also, what if it didn't work and the monkeys died? Well, PETA would engage World War III. There is something so wrong in that company, in their communication strategy right now, Sheila. I think they have to go to a new PR firm or something.
All I'm thinking about is how confusing that would be to have a bunch of monkeys who smell exactly like my husband. That's the smell of romance around this house. Anyway, let's keep going. Baxter donated $5. I know Maxime Bernier and the PPC can't win, but there's no way I can hold my nose right now to vote for O'Toole. You know what, Baxter? I think a lot of people feel that way. There's a lot of people who are either going to spoil their vote, not vote at all, or vote for the PPC. And I don't know. I don't think that bodes well for the Conservative Party of Canada. Yeah,
or even the Republican Party of Canada. I mean, listen, it's basically a spoiled ballot. I realize that. But like that viewer just said, Sheila, I can't hold my nose. Maybe I can hold this nose, but I can't hold my nose and vote for this Conservative Party. And for that reason, I think it's going to be a slaughter. And there's some internal polling that shows there might be 3 ridings in Alberta, 2 in Edmonton and 1 in Calgary, that might go Liberal. And you know what? This proves the old adage, Sheila, you can only kick a dog so many times, and sooner or later, it's going to bite you back. And what I mean by that, folks, is that this party has taken Alberta for granted for decades, and they're not going to put up with it. I think, and this is no April Fool's Day joke, Sheila, I think in the election, even with all the mismanagement of this pandemic, with the vaccine fiasco, all the scandals from SNC-Lavalin, blackface, Gropegate, you name it, I think it's going to be a slaughter. I can see a Liberal majority if that election goes through, and they're saying late spring, early summer. It's so sad.
interesting how the Conservative Party of Canada is so unwilling to learn from the conservative movement in the United States.
Yeah.
Got to do something drastically different. That's what people wanted. That's how Trump won.
Yep.
They just won't do that here. They're trying to do more of the same and move closer and closer and closer to the Liberals.
Yep.
Which makes people wonder, like, why vote for that guy if that guy is the devil we know, I guess.
Yeah. Why have Diet Coke when you can have the real thing? Assuming you don't have diabetes. Anyways, go ahead, Sheila.
Crusades donated $2.99 and says Sheila going full Michael Corrin. Full Michael Corrin?
What?
I don't know. My parish priest will be shocked to hear that you said that about me, and my daughter, who's going through the process of confirmation, is probably going to be surprised to hear that you think I'm leaving the Catholic faith. All the Catholic iconography littering my office. I mean, it's still where it always was. If you're referring to my tolerance and embrace of the folks at Grace Life Church, well, I pride myself on religious tolerance and advocating for religious freedom. And not only that, I also think that if you have a certain set of beliefs and you're sure they're the right ones, then you shouldn't be against hearing the other side of whatever the set of beliefs are. Isn't that what apologetics really is?
Oh, that's a crazy comment, unless you are becoming an Anglican minister, Sheila. But I mean, we're all about all places of worship opening up.
Yeah.
The churches, the mosques, the temples. I mean, that's what we're about, freedom.
Yeah.
There's no
Freedom
governor on it.
For everybody. And yes, I've definitely made some friends that I hope I keep forever within Grace Life Church. What a wonderful group of people. And again, like I'm advocating for their religious freedom doesn't change anything about my religious life, and it shouldn't, because we want, like David said, we want religious freedom for everybody. And by the way, Michael Corrin is an extremely intolerant person and a big fat hypocrite. So I hope you don't think that that's that I'm that. That's for sure.
Do you know the last, and he'll deny this, but I once told this story to Ezra. The last time I saw Michael Corrin, who I considered a friend as well as a colleague, was on the day, it was in a March day, it was at City Hall, and it was the day of Rob Ford's funeral. They had a procession march to the church, and I was filming it, and no word of a lie, as I'm standing there, I feel somebody grabbing my ass. I turn around, and it's Michael Corrin. Who the hell does that? Especially one heterosexual man to another one. And so, I mean, it speaks to the hypocrisy that you spoke to about this individual. But anyways, that was my last encounter with Michael Corrin. And and Michael, if you're watching, put in a super chat.
Yeah, you've been Me Too'd by Michael Corrin. Yikes. You know what? If a conservative had done that, they'd be canceled forever. But he'll get an additional article in the Toronto Star for that. John Yoga donated $1. Hello, I love you guys. Hope one of these days we can meet. Yeah, you know what? I can't wait for this stupid pandemic to be over. So that we can do like Rebel Live events. Those are so fun.
And I love meeting our viewers, Sheila. They are the best. Last weekend in Montreal, I bumped into superfan Lisa Proust again. You know what she did? She gave me a chocolate Easter bunny. And not one of those cheap ones, folks, that are hollow. It's one of those solid high-end bunnies. Can you imagine anyone giving an Easter bunny, or cash for that matter, to Rosemary Barton? Well, maybe Prime Minister Trudeau would give her something, or vice versa. But somebody off the street going up to a member of the mainstream media and giving them a gift, I don't think it would ever happen, Sheila.
They'd call the cops. That's what they would do.
Yeah, they would assume it's poisoned.
The unwashed masses want to talk to us. Hello, 911. Like, it's just ridiculous. Let's finish the super chat. Plus, are you guys secretly married? You guys. You guys are more fun than Ezra. By the way, David, you should host You Bet Your Life.
That's right. What? That's a great idea. A rebel game show. Why don't we come up with something? Let's brainstorm on that one. I think we. Justin, Mr. Producer, put his thumb up. I don't know if he's being facetious or not, but that'd be great. I could be, Pat Sajak. You could be Vanna White, and we could just spin a wheel or something.
That's kind of funny that this person thinks that we're secretly married because my husband would never drive an electric car.
How dare you?
Ever. Maybe a golf cart. Like, we've been looking for a golf cart just for fun, just to whip around the farm. That's as electric as we get around here.
Okay, I'm going to do a high energy Andrew says. Gosh darn you, Sheila Gunn, Reid. It's not an electric car. It's a plug-in hybrid.
It's an egg beater that takes you to and fro. Commie Canada donated $2.50. Proof positive that the Prince of Wales is behind the Great Reset. He embraces it and supports it on his own website. The link is below. This man is the future Canadian head of state, and I find this unacceptable. I don't know if he's behind the Great Reset, but he's supportive of the Great Reset. I think the Great Reset, it sort of was barfed out of the World Economic Forum. And I'm no fan of Prince Charles as it is. I hope that the crown just skips right over him and goes on to Prince William. Anyway,
let's keep our fingers crossed that Queen Elizabeth outlives him.
I hope she lives forever. Long live the Queen.
She's so strong.
Justin from Honored Lads donated $1.59. Oh, okay. Now I know why Sheila kept sending Arby's applications to NDP incumbents before the Alberta election. I did do that. Need to grab a beer with you before Hinshaw cuts her bangs. Yeah, no kidding. CCP must be destroyed. Shout out to producer Justin.
Oh, Justin's so happy. And baseball kicks off. He's a big Blue Jays fan. He's got his Blue Jay hoodie on. He's looking really sharp. And he was singing his little, baseball song. And I'm just so happy for him. But it'll be another disastrous season for the Blue Jays again. So anyhow.
And for those of you who didn't tune in, I think it was on Tuesday. I use Dina Hinshaw, the chief medical necromancer here in Alberta. I use her bangs as a barometer of whether or not we're going into lockdown, because she has some pretty strong bangs. And when they get really short, sorry, the hairdressers are getting locked down. And so I watch her bangs. They are the thermometer of freedom in the province. So pay attention to her bangs. When her bangs get a little problematic, start frantically buying toilet paper.
I love that term you use, necromancer. and when we catch up with the Super Chats, we got to talk about Dr. Samantha Hill of the Ontario Medical Association, because maybe she was doing a little April Fool's joke, but if it was, it's completely unfunny. Continue, Khaleesi.
Yeah. Ezra called them necromancers once on a live stream, and I heard that and I was like, you know what? That is exactly what they are. They are using the dead to control the living, which is really what necromancy is, right? And so that's who they are. They're using these, the deaths, the daily death counts, to control the rest of us as we go about our daily lives. And so that's why I call them necromancers. And it's perfect.
Sheila, driving in today from the Ontario government, we were, again, I can't believe that right now I'm in the situation of Lucy holding the football and telling Charlie Brown to kick it. And I really promise this time I'm not going to yank it away and you go flying in the air. They've gone back to modeling with the new variants. Are you kidding me? Listen, fool me once, shame on me, as the saying goes. But you're not going down that route more than a year later about all the thousands that are going to die according to modeling. We know modeling is not data. So can we have the data if you guys are being driven by science? I'll tell you, Sheila, when the dust settles and the smoke clears, there should be an inquiry about all these public health officers who were nobodies before the pandemic. Now they're household names. Cruella de Villa, Dr. Teresa Tam. And these people are unelected, they're non-accountable, and they're the ones making the decisions. And they all make nice six-figure salaries. And no, we're not on this altogether. I'm sick of this. There has to be a day of reckoning about this abuse of power, Sheila.
You know, it's funny that you brought that up because that's exactly what we're trying to do in Saskatchewan with opensaskatchewan.com. We have a charter challenge there to the lockdown in Saskatchewan. And what we're trying to do and what we hope to do is force these public health necromancers to show their work. Show how you came to these conclusions. Show the modeling that you use to justify destroying people's lives and businesses. And ideally, that's where we're going to get to there, but it is so expensive. Nobody else is doing it in Saskatchewan. If people would like to help us do that. Now, some of you might be saying, like, why Saskatchewan? Why not try to open up Ontario? Saskatchewan canceled one of our events because of the lockdown.
Yep.
We had a talk planned with Dr. Patrick Moore. And so for us now, it's personal. And so we have the ability to bring forward this charter challenge because we're directly involved in it. But we hope to be able to, through the work and through our legal arguments, sort of cause a cascade effect that if other groups want to do this in Alberta or BC or wherever, that we've created a template for that to happen coming out of Saskatchewan. But it's very expensive. And if you want to donate to our legal fees, you can do that at opensaskatchewan.com. We've got Sarah Miller on it. She's so good and so sharp. And she's working very hard. But, you know, the Saskatchewan government, apparently conservative, just throwing up roadblocks all along the way.
Yeah, and Sheila, it should be noted to our viewers, if we're not doing this, who is doing it? Not the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. I mean, their head honcho, Michael Bicyclist Beware Bryant, he is just obsessed with getting people out of jails to maintain social distancing, presumably so people like Adam Skelly can be put in jail for having the temerity to open his restaurant. Yeah, or Pastor Coates, and taking note of any abuses. And at the end of the pandemic, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is going to issue a press release. Ooh, I'm shaking.
Just like Jason Kenney, just write those strongly worded letters to Justin Trudeau. I hope those strongly worded letters have lots of pictures in them. Because if you're going to Justin Trudeau, it's going to need him.
Then he should send a postcard.
Yeah.
Wish you were here.
Wish you were here. This is Alberta. Remember, it's a place. Pink Phoenix Nails donated $2. Good morning, friends. You need to mug club it like Crowder and tell YouTube to piss off. Shout out to Justin. Bobby donated $3. I don't see a rebel chat, but that's very generous. Stationary Nomads donated $15.91. Hi from Southern Saskatchewan. Hey, we just talked about Saskatchewan. Keep up the great work. I'd love an interview with Mark Friesen, the Grizzly Patriot, and more from Chris Sky on calls to action. You know, we cover a lot of Chris Sky. Mark Friesen, we're helping him fight some of his fines that he's received. So we are in communication with him. And
there are 3 Chris Sky videos, Sheila, as you may know, in the can.
Yep.
Folks, we've been overwhelmed. We could probably triple our editing staff and still be playing catch up. There is so much news that, well, the mainstream media is sitting out of fear, I suppose. So, but not us. Sheila, I can speak for Sheila. She is working like a demon. Same with the entire team. We just can't keep up. It's unbelievable.
The whole team. Our young guys who are our editing teams, they're out now in front of the camera. You see Lincoln, you see Mocha, our video. We're so busy with news, our videographers are coming in front of the camera, but that also means that our videographers are not currently editing. And then the people you don't see who, I guess they're sort of like those do-gooding ghosts at the company, like our web team. They work night and day. Everything that goes up on the website that we've done, they also have to touch and work on. So not just my work, not just David's, not just Lincoln and Mocha and all the other guys. And we've got another new young lady who's coming on stream to help us just hammer through some of these fight the fines, because the fight the fine stuff is piling up because places are going into increased lockdowns. We have our web team who's dealing with all of that at the exact same time. So everybody is working so hard.
100%. Like I said in the morning meeting today, Sheila, Mocha yesterday came in on his day off. And, you know, you can't blame the kid. Yeah. Like, what else are you going to do in John Tory's Toronto anyways, right? So that's the kind of work ethic he is, to do the liquor corruption bureaucracy of Ontario video. And by the way, folks, you won't believe your eyes when you see this video. It ends with the police being called, of course. There's a spoiler, but other than that, stay tuned for that one.
It ends the way so many David Menzies videos do. Justin warns me about this name, so I'm just going to spell it out. Berta, FCK, donated $1. Hey, just wondering how long y'all think I should wait after getting a wisdom tooth removed before I can put in a good dip in and crack a cold one. Cheers. I'm not giving you medical advice, but you're an Albertan, and so I think you're pretty tough. So if you want to put in a Lipichew and have a Bud Light, as long as you're not mixing medicines, I think you might be okay. AMT donated $1.59. So Doug Ford wants to have a month lockdown starting tomorrow, just in time for Easter, when people like to go to church and get together with family members. Dictator. He should talk to Florida's governor about being open, and South Dakota's governor, and Montana's governor, and Texas' governor. I mean, there's so many other ways for us to go forward here that doesn't include lockdowns and taking away people's civil liberties and closing their churches.
And Sheila, talk about deja vu all over again. Wasn't it last Easter Doug Ford wagged his finger at Ontarians? Don't even think about going to your cottage for any kind of Easter celebrations, you selfish yahoos. And what did Doug Ford do? He went to his cottage.
Oh, but he was just there checking on the pipes.
Oh, yeah, because he's a plumber as well as a baker of cherry cheesecake. He's a man, a jack of all trades, and apparently a master of none.
Yeah. Chrissy donated $7.96 and says Sheila's a true gem and David is our rebel swashbuckler. Protagonist is heroic, daring, and idealistic. He rescues damsels in distress, protects the downtrodden, and uses duels to defend his honor or that of a lady or avenge a comrade. Yeah, like what you did at the Big Carrot.
Yeah, well, you stay tuned for that video too. Well, that's so nice. Maybe I should dress up as a swashbuckler, you know, carry out the persona of, if people know the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers old logo of that swashbuckler. You know, the kind of I'm trying to politely put what this pirate looked like, but, you know, high boots and a knife in my mouth and a kind of a pork pie hat or something like that. And I don't know. What do you think, Sheila? You're good at style.
We are already, your mask nose thing is also dangerously close to the no costume rule that we put in place after you tried to enter a cat show.
Oh, we cannot talk about trans cat. That is the video that whose name goes unspoken. Justin's already doing this. He's so nervous. Carry on, Sheila.
Let's keep going. But there's a strict no costume rule in place for you for a very specific reason. And we bent it. We ran up to the line and we sort of shoved the line over a little bit so we could get through with the Groucho Marx video, which I think was excellent.
You had no idea how humiliated I was at that cat show anyway. But anyway, Sheila.
No, I'm just talking about... Trini Canadian donated $2. Sesame Street has gotten woke and creating 2 new characters to tackle racism. Ridiculous. Let kids be kids. Yeah, and racism, or I'm sorry, Sesame Street. What's that? Little Nas X? He's the guy with the Satan shoes and the video with him grinding on the devil. see, Sesame Street helped him cultivate his presence with not just preteens, but literally 5-year-olds. They had him on there so he could build his like street cred with little kids while, you know, he was riding the wave of his Old Town Road or whatever horrific song. And now, all of a sudden, after he builds this like whole cult of little kids who love him, he switches to this highly sexualized satanic stuff. And Sesame Street played a role in that. So gross.
It is a wildfire, the cancel culture. Also, a few days ago, Sheila, a Captain Underpants book has been canceled. And what was very interesting about that, and I looked at several media outlets, USA Today and on, and they didn't say what the reason was. They hinted that it was a negative Asian stereotype. Well, what is it? This is called, Sheila, burying the lead. That's the term in journalism when you don't get to the point. It's kind of like on the day after September 11th, 2001, the newspaper story said, a horrible thing happened in America yesterday. Almost 4,000 people died. Terrible carnage. But they don't say what it was, right?
They call it a plane crash, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, a plane crash, right? So we're now at the point where not only things are getting canceled, where not only the creators, such as Dr. Seuss Enterprises, which agreed with the cancellation, oh, yeah, it's terribly offensive, we're taking that down, and the people behind Captain Underpants, oh yeah, we're so sorry, we're so sorry that they're bending the knee when their own work is getting canceled. But when you read about the cancellation, it doesn't say what the offensive thing is. What the, Sheila, can you understand this?
No, we're supposed to guess. It's like when YouTube demonetized us.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, because you're harmful and dangerous. And it's like, well, okay, show us where that is. You're just supposed to guess. You're just supposed to assume that everything you've done is harmful and dangerous. But I think it's very strange, this like, we need representation in books and movie of people of all sort of ethnic backgrounds. But then when you say, okay, well, those people can be good and bad because just like all people from certain ethnic backgrounds are good and bad, like everybody is. So then when you have a bad guy and a good guy of that ethnic background, you get in trouble because you had the bad guy. And you're like, well, I just tried to be diverse and representative.
Yep.
But I guess that's not really what you want, right? Like
No.
that's, you don't want fair and equal treatment, you want special treatment.
And the other word that was used in the coverage of, I'm not making this up, folks, this Captain Underpants cancellation was about, they kept using the word safety. You know, those in the Asian community that might feel unsafe about a Captain Underpants book. You know, Sheila, the Asian friends and colleagues I have are pretty strong, smart, resourceful people. I don't think it's a safety issue if they see an unflattering image in a Captain Underpants book. I thought safety was something like a live wire, right? It fell down from the pole and you might get electrocuted. Not an image in a children's book. I mean, again, more madness, Sheila.
And again, these are the same people who are like, Little Nas X, he brings out this video where he's grinding on the devil and he's got like literally satanic shoes. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but that's what he's doing. And they're like, yeah, look at his artistic expression. That's fine, but Captain Underpants can't have an Asian bad guy. Very strange. Let's keep going. Again, what a time to be alive. Brackathor donated $5. Hi, David. My favorite thing about you is your alpha body language, i.e., when that guy grabbed your mic, you actually pushed him back with your mere physical presence, and he stepped back. Were you always this manly, or was it gained through experience?
It must be all that Irish Spring soap I'm using, Sheila. But here's the thing. Here's the tragedy of that comment. Which guy grabbing the mic? It's happened
kidding.
so many times.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, my favorite part of how you interact with, like, the bad guys, unfriendlies, is when they say, okay, well, you can't film. They'll say, like, oh, you can't film here. Oh, I don't want to be interviewed. And you go, oh, okay. And then keep talking. And like keep talking, keep with the microphone in your face. You do it every single time. We should do a super cut of all the times that you go, oh, okay. And keep doing exactly that thing that they've asked you to do. And they keep interacting with you. They could leave, they could go away, but they keep interacting with you because you're interacting with them.
Oh, yeah. No, Sheila, I think that's from the Detective Columbo School of Journalism. You know, sir, just one more thing as you're being frog marched out of wherever. And they continue to talk.
Yeah, you did it to that one MP. And it was at, I think it was the Walk for Israel. Was that where it was?
Oh, Michael Levitt?
Yes, and he
Yeah.
didn't want to talk. All he could do is have this goofy smile and look away. Like he couldn't even make eye contact. You're talking to him like this, and he's like,
Yeah, and the question was, it was a Walk for Israel, and I said, do you support the idea of the embassy, the Canadian embassy, following the footsteps of the U.S. embassy and having it moved to Jerusalem? And cue the image of Bambi looking at a Hummer going down the highway at 150 clicks with the high beams on, right? It was like,
he didn't know what to do.
Does not compute, does not compute.
He didn't know what to do. He just froze, looked away, and had this like half-ass goofy grin on his face. I felt embarrassed for him actually. And normally I don't feel bad for people like that, but I was like, this is going to be a terrible day for this guy.
And then later in a synagogue during the election, he said that often the BDS movement is anti-Israel. The people erupted. What do you mean often? Always.
Often?
Yeah.
Always.
And now he's out of politics, Sheila, and here's a tragedy for you. He is now the head honcho of the Simon Wiesenthal Association. And to me, I'm sorry, they do good work, but how can I give money to an organization headed up by a guy who doesn't support Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and thinks that the BDS movement has wiggle room, that it's not always bad against Israel? Unbelievable. What a disgrace.
It's too bad. Carousel Red donated $3.98. I don't see a super chat or rebel chat there. Thank you very much. Lisa Proust donated $10 on top of the chocolate bunny she gave David the other day. I love everyone at Rebel News Forever. Shout out to Justin.
There you go.
Oromir7 donated $1. Menzies, why do you even wear the slave mask face diaper? I saw you wear it in the airport when you were documenting Chris Sky's interaction with the police. Exemptions apply there as well. It's embarrassing and a slap in the face to all that follow you.
Can I answer that question? I try to go through life without the face mask 100%, but when it means going into an airport, a government building, a hospital, yes, I know what you're saying, sir. These exemptions should be honored, but they're not. And it's more important for me to get the story than to make me the story about me getting frog marched out of an area. And by the way, Chris Guy, who is the numero uno person in this province that does not mask up, you saw in one of our recent videos from the airport, he was frog marched out by Peel Police, even though he had that exemption. He would not comply. I can't afford to miss the story by being kicked out of these buildings, sir. I really can't. That's more important, getting the story, than me pushing for mask-free rights. That's my answer.
Right. And you're not going to get them in that moment.
Exactly.
And the story's happening right then.
Exactly.
So it's the trade-off you have to make sometimes.
Yeah.
Token donated $7.96 monthly subscription top-up. I'm headed to Prince's Island, Calgary for the worldwide demo march Saturday at 1 p.m. I'll be taking my camera. Do I have your blessing to practice journalism? Here's the thing about journalism. It's the thing you do, and you don't need permission from anything or anybody to do it. We don't ask permission. You go do journalism.
Yep.
Avery donated $1.59. Please ask Ezra to contact Ron Valiant about Bill C-15, which will be voted on April 22nd. He was being interviewed by Laura Lynn, and he said he has been trying to contact Rebel so the word can be spread. If passed, can affect our rights. You know who I'd like to talk to about Bill C-15 is Stephen Buffalo from the Indian Resource Council. I think that if I'm recalling correctly, that's the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Stephen Buffalo is actually against it. So I'd much rather hear from Stephen Buffalo than, because it's affecting his people. It's, being passed in the name of his people. I'd rather talk to Stephen Buffalo, to be honest with you.
Let's hear from Stephen Buffalo then, Sheila.
I would love to. I'm a big Stephen Buffalo fan. Last week, he scorched the earth under Jane Fonda. He's great.
Wow.
Prime Minister Jay Castro donated $2. The health officials... I know.
That won't go away, eh?
No. The health officials across Canada don't look very healthy themselves. A dead stare in their eyes and an apathetic disposition. These people are they like the power, don't they? That's why we keep going into lockdown. They've just been pencil pushing nerds, however well compensated, for their entire career. Now they're in front of the TV cameras. They're making decisions that affect your lives, affect your business, affect your ability to practice your rights. And they like it. They got a taste for power and they don't want to give it back, as every government bureaucrat tends to do. It's that's the real disease, isn't it? Go ahead, David.
Oh, and you're right, Sheila. As I said earlier in the show, these are the new celebrities, if you will. Who knew these names before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Teresa Pregnant People Tam, nobody knew who she was. Cruella de Villa, who is really the mayor of Toronto. John Tory is the deputy mayor, because she's calling the shots. Dr. David Williams, the other stooge that was with the press conference with Dr. David Williams going, oh, I don't know what to say. They just give me these papers and I say what they tell. Who is they, by the way? Who are the puppet masters of the chief medical health officer puppets? That's what I want to know. And so I think you're right, Sheila. They're kind of getting a little drunk on power, on celebrity status. And like I said, nobody voted these people in, and they're non-accountable. We can't do anything about them.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe because we're getting towards the end of the show, maybe you want to talk about the one thing that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, Dr. Samantha Hill?
Yes.
Yes. Folks, you got a tipster on our tips line, Mohammed, passed this along to me. I'm grateful for it. He gave me the clip, the time code, everything. And we're going to play a little clip about Dr. Samantha Hill as soon as Justin can find it. Basically decrying any of the misinformation, any of the fake news about the Wuhan virus that's out there. And she makes a startling offer. And I wonder, is this an April Fool's joke? Is this fake news? Is Dr. Hill lying? I don't know, but when we get the clip queued up, do we have that, Justin? Justin just needs 20 seconds. We're going to play that clip of Dr. Samantha Hill's offer, ostensibly to the public, presumably including journalists. And
you think?
You tell me if she's going to follow through on this offer. By the way, I got in touch as soon as I saw that clip with the media relations person at the Ontario Medical Association. I haven't heard back. But if I get to fulfill this offer, I will be shocked. Check it out, folks.
To those people, Dr. Hill, the ones who don't believe it, or they just say, I'm fed up with this?
So to everyone who's fed up with this, I say, I get it. Me too. But that doesn't change that that's what we're living in. For the people who are saying they don't believe it, I invite you to take a tour of any of the COVID wards in the hospitals. We are building and have built massive sites outside of hospitals like Sunnybrook to tolerate and to be able to manage some of this overflow. This is not a figment of anyone's imagination to say that
Yeah, I invite you to take a tour of these COVID hospitals.
Great, let's do it.
Dr. Hill, you name the time, you name the place. I'll tell you, Mohammed phoned the Ontario Medical Association and said, I'm ready for my tour. And they go, no, don't go anywhere near your hospitals. She probably didn't mean what she said. What? She's the president of the Ontario Medical Association. So, Dr. Hill, name the hospital, name the tour, because quite frankly, I think with all the cancellations of elective surgery, and some people are dying due to those cancellations of elective surgery, I don't buy the narrative that you're being overrun and that these hospitals are, the employees there are being burnt out and exhausted. I can tell you from my interview with Dr. Mark Trozzi, Sheila, at the hospital he was working at, when I first met him, he said to me, in more than 30 years of medicine, Dave, I experienced something I've never experienced in my career. And I said, what's that, Dr. Trozzi? He said, I had a 14-hour shift and I did not see one person. I spent the whole shift looking at my computer, catching up on medical journal readings. So yes, Dr. Hill, I want that tour. And if you said that on the presumption that nobody was paying attention, and thank God for you, Mohammed, for reaching out and catching that. That was a great catch. Then you're either playing an April Fool's joke or you're lying. Which is it?
Well, to say, well, she didn't really mean it. What else is this woman saying that she doesn't mean? That we're all just supposed to take at face value. And then when somebody calls her out on it, she's like, oh, it's just something I said. Well, then don't say it. You're on a TV panel. The brainwashed masses are watching you. You're making insinuations that it's overcrowded. We want to see. You said we can see, unless you just are making things up. And what other things are you making up, lady?
Yeah, and Sheila, I really don't want a doctor with a outrageous sense of humor. I don't want to be in the examination room and the doctor says, how about taking these couple of cyanide tablets? Oh, no, just joking. No. I want to play it right down the middle.
I don't want a dentist or a doctor that's prone to hyperbole. I just don't. I don't think anybody does. We should breeze through these super chats because we're already past the hour. We didn't get to everything we wanted to talk about because we wanted to talk about Tucker, and maybe we will. But we are going to live stream the Ontario lockdown press conference that's coming up at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And so we want to wrap this up so that we can get off air so that Justin can broadcast that. So if you're watching right now on Rumble or the Rebel News Clips channel, or unfortunately still on YouTube, stay with us because once we're done here, we're going to be streaming that press conference. And wouldn't you like to watch it on our channel as opposed to the government channel? And
Sheila, driving in today, I heard Doug Ford saying about the 28-day lockdown coming, that he is convinced 1,000% this is the right thing to do. Did Doug Ford take math 1,000%? Anyways, go ahead. It's the science, Sheila, the science.
Follow the science.
Okay.
Bunny Hop donated $10. Romanians have been protesting for 5 consecutive days against the lockdowns and curfews in every major city. It's a national movement. I'd love to cover that, but I just don't have 2 weeks of my life on this side to give up and 2 weeks of my life on that side to give up with quarantines.
I would love to cover that too, Sheila. And the Romanian people I have met at protests and elsewhere, I love those people. They are so feisty. And because they know what it's like to live under totalitarianism. They know what it's like to see your freedom stripped away. That movie doesn't have a happy ending. And they'll be damned if they move to a country like Canada to see a replay of Romania when it was behind the Iron Curtain. So I have so much respect for the Romanian community.
Yeah, they've seen where this goes. Like when you follow this to the very end, they've seen where this goes. Jay donated $6.66. Is that a slight at me because I talked about satanic running shoes earlier, Jay? So Toronto has been in gray lockdown for 4 months. So now the government is going to lock down the lockdown because the lockdown hasn't worked. What a joke. Yeah.
I wish I thought of that line. That's a thing of beauty.
Rebel Queen donated $9.97. The way you guys talk about the Liberal Party winning no matter what makes me believe you both know that the elections are rigged. I don't know if they're rigged or not. I just know that Aaron O'Toole is uninspiring. Care to comment on why most people are now moving quickly to the PPC yet still have zero chance? I wouldn't say most people are moving to the PPC. Might be in the circles that you travel to or travel within. But I think more people are becoming disaffected, and particularly here in the West, I would suggest they're more likely to throw their disaffected vote over to a Western regional separatist party than the PPC, I think, right now.
And Sheila, if I may, I'm a huge Toronto Maple Leafs fan, but I can tell you folks, I would be bankrupt if I betted with my heart as opposed to my brain. And I have more than half a century of futility by this organization to prove me right. We're not happy about another liberal government, perhaps even a majority, but we're reading the tea leaves, and as I said earlier, it's going to be a slaughter. I really think that, sadly.
Yeah, I'm realistic. I have to emotionally prepare myself for these things. MEC donated $2 through a super chat. Oh, great. So you must have made it over at the Clips channel, and says Tucker Carlson. Maybe, Justin, I know we're way over time, but because it's in the title of the live stream, so we should get to it.
Yes.
Would you mind putting up a clip of Tucker Carlson last night on Trudeau's COVID jails? And I could not believe my eyes, but I was like, yeah. And it's interesting because we're in the mix of dealing with the COVID jail scandal all the time. And we're helping people who have gotten tickets from just leaving a COVID jail or refusing to go to it. That's part of our Fight the Fines initiative. But to hear somebody from the outside looking in, sort of listing off the catastrophes of the COVID jails and the lies we were fed about them, it's something else, because it takes you out of what you're working in so that you can look at it with fresh eyes.
Suddenly went dangerously insane and started holding people hostage in his house. Would you consider that threatening? Would you even notice it? Those are not theoretical questions. Something very much like that just happened in our national neighborhood. Canada, the landmass directly to our north, our single largest trading partner, the country with whom we share the longest international border in the world, Canada took a dramatic move toward legitimately dangerous authoritarianism. In Canada, yes. Here's just one measure of it. On Monday, the country's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, outlined his government's new corona regulations. Canadians hoping to return to their country must be tested before and after takeoff, he said. Quote, if your test results come back positive, you'll need to immediately quarantine in designated government facilities. This is not optional. Designated government facilities. Now, when this happens in other countries, and it does, we call those facilities internment camps. But because this is Canada we're talking about, a place we assume is passive and polite and Anglo to the point of parody, no one thinks to use that term. In fact, no one thinks about it at all. Trudeau's internment policy has been in place since last month, and as far as we can tell, no major U.S. network has even mentioned it. And neither has our State Department, which ordinarily seems to exist to make unhappy noises about human rights violations around the world. But not a word about Canada. Preconceptions may play some role here. We assume that interning people is what Russia does. Boring people is what Canada does. But not anymore. Suddenly, Canada is a flagrant violator of the most basic human rights.
Oh, Sheila, and I know you're going to echo this. I love Tucker Carlson.
So much.
And you know what? It would have been beautiful, and we would have given him full permission if he wanted some of our footage of inside these COVID hotels and even the fiasco outside the COVID hotels. I think that would have enhanced that report, because the mainstream media isn't doing that kind of coverage. And, you know, it's so, I love Tucker when he focuses on Canada, which is a rarity. And you know, a couple months ago, I think Ezra was on Tucker's show. But I always think back to 2018, Stephen LeDrew ending his career on Tucker about how we have free speech in Canada. And it was about the alphabet soup of the 128 gender thing. And the question, and Tucker is genuinely confused. He goes, twin-spirited, what's that? And LeDrew ends his career with the statement, well, Tucker, these are clearly people that are confused. They don't know if they're frick or frack, fish or fowl. Well, Mr. Free Speech, Stephen LeDrew, got off the line, and his career at Bell Media was over with. You couldn't write that script, but what a great report. I'm glad it's getting American attention.
Yeah, you know, the opening segment there, when Tucker says, what would you do if your neighbor was kidnapping people and holding them hostage. That's what Canada's doing right now. That's what our neighbor to the north is doing. And it's jarring to hear, and it's kind of funny, and you laugh, but it's like, well, yeah, that is actually what we're doing. We are abducting Canadian citizens at the airport. And I highly suggest everybody watch that, because he goes into detail about what's going on. He talks about specific cases. He talks about temporary foreign workers that don't have to quarantine, but Canadian citizens do. It's startling to hear somebody from the outside looking at what we're doing here and saying, aye, that's a little nutty.
And again, Sheila, no signs here. In fact, the safety of these hotels is very much in question. We've had allegations of sexual assault by females who are put in hotel rooms without locks. We have filthy living conditions. We have horrible food in small portions, and in one case, deadly food, seafood that was served to somebody with anaphylaxis allergies to seafood. This quarantine can be done far more safely and efficiently at homes of people. Stay in your home for 15 days and not at these filthy hotels. It's all political grandstanding and theater, Sheila, and it's despicable.
If I were more of a conspiracy theorist, and I don't need help moving in that direction, this feels a lot like a bailout to the hotel industry that's been hammered by the lack of tourism.
Yeah, or maybe this is how the budget's going to balance itself.
Perhaps. Justin is telling us to hurry up and get through these super chats. We're
Which
17
Justin?
minutes past the hour.
Producer or Prime Minister?
The good one. Dave3388 donated $3.98, says, why is Kenny listening to liberals instead of the people who voted him in? Great question. Wish I knew the answer. Annalisa S donated $10. Just woke up and almost missed your show. Hi, Menzies. Hi, Sheila. Menzies, I watched your clip last night with you wearing that silly glasses and nose. I laughed so hard. Sheila, you have to understand why I have the Menzies crush now. LOL.
Thank you so much, Annalisa S.
It was one of David's best videos. Just funny. It was like the perfect David video.
I owe everything to those Mexican researchers.
Jeez. There's like a guy in that video who walks by and he's wearing like an F gun control shirt. And I'm like, is it? Well, that guy walked by at the perfect time. He's the only guy who probably feels that way in Toronto. And he makes this like beautiful cameo appearance in your crazy video.
And he wore that shirt, Sheila, because he had to go to City Hall to pay about $2,000 in parking tickets. And he said the number of triggered bureaucrats in City Hall as he was walking by with the F gun control, it was kind of like, is he here for one of those events?
I want to give that guy a job. Commie Canada gives us $2. Regina City Council has voted to remove the Sir John A. Macdonald statue from Victoria Park. Have they? The destruction of Canadian symbols and heritage continues. Commie Canada, can you send that to me at sheila@rebelnews.com? Let's see if we can do something about that. Space Dave,
and
2000.
please just send it to Sheila. I am contractually forbidden to talk about anything happening in Regina.
That's true.
Anyway.
Get fired. And I can't save you. Space Dave 2000 donated $2 through a super chat. Thoughts on Dougie locking down Ontario again? If you stay with us, you can watch the live stream again. But I think that we're streaming the press conference that's happening in like 11 minutes. But I think that other super chatter, rebel chatter, summed it up perfectly. They're locking down the lockdown because the lockdown didn't work.
Wow.
So
beautiful.
Yep. Eileen the villain, that's great, donated $3.98. Have there been any updates regarding deco labels and Doug Ford's pandemic profiteering? David?
No, because the press secretary for Doug Ford doesn't even return our queries, in addition to banning us from the press conferences. And when we go right to the horse's mouth, deco labels in Etobicoke, they call the police. So Ontario open for business, Ontario for the people.
Yeah. Well, for the people who work for Doug Ford and open for his own business, I guess.
Yeah.
Trini Canadian donated $1.99. Would Sheila be interested in doing a live show between her and Avi? Would love to watch that. Shout out to Justin. Yeah, I'm not opposed. I think it's a time change issue. Like, he's literally on the flip side of the earth from me. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to ask Avi how he gets his hair under control.
You call that control? It always looks like he's driving with the windows open.
No. What we see on Skype during our morning meetings versus what he looks like in his videos, I want to know how he does that. Because my son has exactly that hair, but rounder. And I would like to offer some maternal guidance, although my son likes looking ridiculous, so I don't know. But I really want to know how Abby does his hair. Okay.
Maybe they still sell Brill cream in Australia. I don't know.
Maybe. Justin's like, okay. Mr. Insomniac 420 donated $1. Best way to dehumanize a person is to cover their face. Also, let's save the Rogers Center by turning it into a refugee camp. Also, condos are the urban slums of tomorrow. King on Common Law donated $5. Ever notice? David laughs a lot like John Candy. God rest his soul. Yes, he does. He does. Absolutely. Yes.
I love John Candy. What a treasure.
He's my youngest daughter. He's her favorite. She's got John Candy stickers all over her laptop.
Excellent.
Rebel donated $5. Thanks for all you guys are doing for us. Hi to Justin. And Alan Newsom donated $6.99 through a super chat. How exciting. I'm trying to figure out how to donate. Well, it looks like you did, Alan. Keep up the good work. I'll succeed sooner or later. Well, sooner, it sounds like. Florida Possum donated $5. Is there going to be a class action suit to recover my money from the COVID gulag? I am not sure. Oh, and by the way, they never even followed through after I paid all that money. I spent 2 days trying to get someone to pick up my 10-day COVID swab. They never came. Yeah, it's all public health theater. And I think, oh, we got one more. RJ Jameson donated $3.98. Yes, lockdown pays out big for Ford. And now we're all done.
Well, folks, we got to wrap this up. We're 22 minutes into overtime. So thank you to Justin. Thank you to the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. And thank you so much for your generosity. And as far as Sheila and I are concerned, we'll see you next Tuesday. And tomorrow, I guess there is no live stream. It is Good Friday. So in the meantime, have a happy Easter and stay sane.